it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, we are going to be doing a lot of heat embossing. It's actually super simple, but there is, I guess there is stamping to get the heat embossing, but no plain inks involved, no coloured inks. We are going to be starting on a yellow card base. This is the Wild Dandelion colour. And I am going to cut this into just a regular 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. This was not a full sheet to begin with, so I'm just going to cut down what I need and then I will put the rest back in that little clear file folder so that everything is all kept together the same colour. Score this in half, fold it up nicely, and then I'm going to be using some masking magic. Any masking paper is going to do. I do like this one because I feel like this is almost indestructible. I can put as much water on these strips as I would like to. Same with the masking magic paper, obviously, same material. But I'm not going to be using water as such today, but these are still such a great masking strip. If you have some low-tack tape, like some mint tape, that's going to work perfectly. If you're going to use washi tape, perhaps pop it on your clothes or your skin a couple of times just to get away some of that stick so it's not too sticky. If you've got some low-tack washi tape, then I'm sure that would work just perfectly too. Sometimes if you're desperate, I also just use some copy paper and you can sort of pop it in place and pop it down with some other tape to hold that in place, or use some like removable adhesive on the back of the copy paper and mask it off that way. So lots of different options. Now I'm going to be using entirely the Vibrant Sentiments stamp set today. So just one stamp set needed for this whole card. This has some beautiful sentiments in it. I love the font. It's scripty but nice and easy to read. Now I want to use some different coloured embossing powders today on this design because obviously we are starting on a yellow card base and the embossing powders are going to be beautiful and opaque on this. So I did want a couple of masks and I was going to use both size flowers, but change of plan, just the small one will do. And then out of the 3 pieces of leaves or foliage that are on there, I'm going to use 2 of them. I am going to ink this up and stamp it out just 3 times, a bit of generational stamping. Cover these in some clear embossing powder and melt it. This is all on the masking magic sheets because I'm going to create masks. But the one thing with this beautiful masking paper is it can be used over and over again. So if I'm going to make the effort, go to the effort of creating a mask for something, you better bet that I'm going to be putting that release paper back on it, keeping that mask and popping it in the back of the package so that I do not have to do this process again. Now these were super easy. I was not at all careful with how I was cutting the outside and this still turned out beautifully fine. I didn't end up cutting out the 3rd mask because I thought I would need 2, but actually I'll show you a trick how we got around that later on. Anyhow, now I am starting in my stamping platform and actually I definitely don't need it. I'm going to swap away from it because if I don't need it then I won't use it. So I have stamped one in some VersaMark sticky embossing ink. Then I'm going to put some white embossing powder over top. Now, learn your lesson from me. I should have used my anti-static powder tool, that's for sure. I did not do it on this step, but I will do it on the next step. So I've moved away from my stamping tool. I don't need it, and it's just as easy for me to use a little acrylic block and shift it around. I've got a few of those little flowers all in different places, and these are all going to be in white, bright white embossing powder. Now this is a relatively fine pattern, so I do love to use these super fine embossing powders. This one happens to be by Ranger. There are lots of good ones. So you can see that I did get a little few places with extra there. Just use a paintbrush to brush it off, but nonetheless, if you use an anti-static powder bag or a powder tool or whatever you have before that you do this embossing, then this is going to be it's going to work out much better for you, but that's okay. I learned my lesson. Now at this point, I've done the one flower and I put the mask over top of it, so I carried on with the others that I needed. I'm going to melt all of these and look how it goes from like sort of a dull white to a bright white once we heat set it. I love that with embossing. So now I'm going to cover up 2 of the main flowers because there was no way I was going to cut out 5 masks. We can make do. I finally remembered to bring out my anti-static powder bag, which is easy and perfect. I absolutely recommend that everybody have one of these. It does save a lot of pain. Then I'm going to take the same sticky ink that I stamped the flowers with, and I'm going to have these coming out of all of the flowers. Now I don't want them to go over top of the ones that don't have masks, so I will just, once I'm sort of done with stamping around one flower, I will shift it around and then I'll move on to the next one and stamp all those pieces. I also don't want it going underneath that the bottom line of white masking that we have there. That's where our sentiment is going to go. And I'm making sure that I go over the edges a lot because I want there to be a solid I want there to be a solid line, a clear differentiation between the embossing and the border that we have created. And then I'm going to use some green embossing powder. This one is called Verdigris from Ranger. Just an embossing powder that's got lots of little flecks and sort of, several different colors in one pottle there. And so I just put that over all of the leaves. And then I know it looks a bit of a mess at the minute, but I'm going to take all of these off, otherwise we would emboss some of that embossing powder probably where we didn't want it. Then heat set all of the green, beautiful, gorgeous leaves, and that's why I did this on some yellow cardstock, because the white flowers are just going to pop and the green is going to be nice and opaque. You can't see the yellow through it, so beautiful embossing. Now, obviously, one of my most favorite parts about any masking that we end up doing is the reveal. It's pulling off that masking paper. It is so exciting to see those crisp, clean lines, and I'm really happy with the way this looks. I'm happy with the way the border came out. It looks like a nice crisp line between the two. Now here I feel like I could have made this peace, prayers and blessings. I love that saying. I love that sentiment that we could pop in there. With sympathy, I feel like this could easily be a sympathy card or a thinking of you card. The get well soon, I love that one too, but I just thought I would keep this stock standard happy birthday because I actually had this in mind for somebody. I am giving this beautiful friend of mine a gift of some nice cozy snuggly flannelette pajamas that she had actually picked out for me to get for her birthday, so that is fine, but they have a floral pattern on them and they are yellow, and that's the reason I went for all of this card. That's the reason why I have done it as I have, but it is getting colder here in New Zealand. We are definitely starting to lose that brief glimpse of summer that we saw, very brief, but nonetheless, so snuggly pajamas it is. And I'm going to stamp just using an acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp out the sentiment down here. Again, for the white, I use the super fine embossing powders. Now, I have said it before and I'll say it again, I think these are a great idea because you can do a solid image with the super fine, absolutely, but you can also get these these delicate little dainty words and these little scripty pieces with the superfine embossing powder, and it comes out much, much clearer and doesn't get that sort of foggy, blurry look sometimes when you use the normal embossing powders. Then I'm going to finish this off by just having a few pearls to inside of the bigger flowers and some smaller pearls that will go just in between, just here and there. But this was a super easy, fun card to create, and all using embossing powders. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. I have lots more videos on my channel using embossing powder, of course. There are so many fun techniques that you can do with it. So go ahead and click subscribe and turn on that little notification bell so that you get notified of the 3 videos that I post every single week. Of course, supplies will be listed in the description box below this video, but other than that, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here. I truly do appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye!